Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2023 Indian Wells Masters Review. So far I've only done reviews of Grand Slams, but I figured Masters events could be just as exciting as majors, and frankly, the world is a better place when Tyrant Legend posts a video. Before we begin the review though, we need to establish the pre-tournament contenders. The biggest news coming into Indian Wells is number 1 ranked Novak Djokovic once again being denied entry into the US due to his vaccine status, meaning he'd miss both Indian Wells and the Miami Masters for a 4th year in a row. Another huge absence would be Rafa Nadal, who withdrew from the tournament due to a leg injury he suffered at the Australian Open. Since he made the Indian Wells final last year, his pulling out meant the Spaniard would drop out of the top 10 for the first time since 2005. Other notable players who had to pull out included Nick Kyrgios, Sebastian Korda, and Marin Cilic. As for the favorites to win the tournament, Daniil Medvedev is an easy pick, since he's coming off 3 straight hardcourt titles and has looked unstoppable since losing in the Australian Open 3rd round. Of course, Carlos Alcaraz is always a safe bet to make a deep run, and coming into the tournament, the Spaniard has seemingly completely recovered from his injury at the Rio Open final. Alcaraz is the only player in the tournament who has a shot at overtaking Djokovic for the number 1 spot in the rankings, which he can accomplish by lifting the trophy in Indian Wells. Taylor Fritz, who coming into the tournament is somehow ranked number 5 in the world, will face the daunting task of defending his Indian Wells title. If he is unsuccessful, he will likely drop multiple spots in the rankings, and if he loses early enough, there's a good chance he even gets knocked out of the top 10. With all that out of the way, let the matches begin. On day 1 of Indian Wells, Gael Monfils made his return to the tennis scene, entering his first tournament since last year's Toronto Masters. His first match back didn't go too well though, as the human highlight reel only won 4 games total and looked completely void of his patented speed and agility. Marathon man Andy Murray won in 3 sets, making this match his 6th win of the 2023 season and also his 6th deciding set victory of the season. Fellow former Grand Slam champion Stan Wawrinka also moved on to the second round after winning his first match in Indian Wells since 2019. Yuri Lehechka collected his first career Masters 1000 victory to set up an Andrei Rublev rematch, their most recent clash in Doha going the way of the Czech. All seeded players received a first round bye, so there weren't too many other notable results in the round of 128. Coming into the Sunshine Double Swing, notorious bathroom user Stefanos Tsitsipas actually had a shot to become the world number 1 by April, if he managed to win the title in either Indian Wells or Miami and make the final of the other. Considering he's coming off a run to the Australian Open finals and is 15-2 in 2023, it wouldn't even be that much of a stretch to think Tsitsipas might get a shot at, and he's already lost in the second round. Apostolos' son lost in 3 sets to 87th ranked Jordan Thompson, in what was the Australian's 2nd career top 10 win. The round of 64 saw the fall of several more highly ranked players, including Matteo Berrettini, who fell in 3 sets to Taro Daniel. Since the Breakpoint docuseries was released, Berrettini has gone 2-3, dropped out of the top 20, and the best player he's beaten has been 57th ranked Alex Molcan. The Netflix curse lives on. Taylor Fritz's title defense got off to a rocky start, as he lost the first set in his match against Ben Shelton, but the number 4 seed managed to pull through and take the match in 3 sets. Carlos Alcaraz began his quest to retake the world number 1 ranking by beating Thanasi Kokkinakis. In the round of 32, we saw many great matches and a few key upsets, starting with number 3 seeded Casper Ruud losing in 2 sets to 97th ranked qualifier Christian Garin. The Chilean actually played really well and probably could have finished the match even quicker if not for a slight dip in form around the middle of the second set. But once again, Charity Ruud proved himself to be the biggest fraud in pro tennis. We all know the only reason he got to the top 10 in the first place was by collecting easy points in low-level clay tournaments. And we also all know that he broke into the top 2 via 2 very fluky Grand Slam finals runs that came thanks to extremely easy draws. He made the finals of a Masters 1000 event and the Nitto ATP finals as well, both of which he lost of course. And while admittedly I think both runs are much more impressive than his major finals runs, at the ATP finals specifically, he still got placed in the much weaker group, he got to face Rublev in the semis instead of Tsitsipas or Medvedev, and the group stage still somehow managed to lose to Rafael Nadal's decaying corpse. Ruud has basically thrown away the first 2.5 months of the season, and is 4-5 in 2023, and is yet to win 2 matches in a row. He's got a lot of points to defend in Miami and then Roland Garros this year, so his top 5 position might soon be in jeopardy. As for the other matches, Stan Wawrinka managed to overcome 7th seeded Holger Rune in a heated 3-setter to move into the round of 16. Jack Draper beat Andy Murray in 2 sets, 17th seed Tommy Paul managed to pull off an upset against 9th seed Hubert Hurkacz, and Alexander Zverev won his match in 3 sets against Emil
Ruusuvuori
to set up a blockbuster showdown between him and Medvedev, who beat Ilya Ivashka in 3. The Indian Wells 4th round saw only one upset, which was Cam Norrie crushing 6th-seeded Andrei Rublev 6-2, 6-4, setting up a quarterfinal showdown between him and Frances Tiafoe. Daniil Medvedev and Alexander Zverev played what was arguably the best match of the tournament up to that point, a high-intensity 3-setter with some shot-making that resembled that of prime Roger Federer's. In the middle of the match, Medvedev accidentally pulled his Zverev and almost snapped his ankle in half, but the Russian pulled through to win the contest 6-7, 7-6, 7-5. Felix Auger-Aliassime had arguably the most impressive performance out of anyone in the round of 16, as the Canadian saved 6 match points to stun Tommy Paul and move into the quarterfinals. Jack Draper's Indian Wells run ended due to an injury during his match against Carlos Alcaraz, setting up a third meeting between the Spaniard and FAA. Stan Wawrinka's campaign also ended in the round of 16, as he was bested by Jannik Sinner 6-1, 6-4. Taylor Fritz won his match in straight sets as well to move into the quarterfinals where he would face Sinner. The quarterfinals kicked off with Frances Tiafoe beating Cam Norrie in straight sets to reach his maiden Masters 1000 semifinals. This result would also push the American into the top 15 for the first time in his career. Big Foe would face Medvedev in the semis, who overcame yet another injury to win his match against Davidovich Fokina. Carlos Alcaraz finally managed to beat Felix on his 4th try to move into his 2nd straight Indian Wells semifinals. There he would face Jannik Sinner, who ended Taylor Fritz's title defense in 3 sets to become the first Italian man ever to make the Indian Wells semis. This will now be the 5th meeting between Sinner and Alcaraz on the main tour, and if their meeting in the desert will be anything like their match at the US Open, tennis fans should be excited. The first match of the Indian Wells semifinals will be Medvedev vs Tiafoe, and in a true roller coaster of a contest, Medvedev would come out on top 7-5, 7-6. Despite being broken twice while serving for the match and squandering 7 match points. This was the Russian's 19th win in a row and, at the moment, is undoubtedly a top 3 worthy player in my opinion. Then came the Alcaraz-Sinner match, and though Sinner has provided him with problems in the past, the Spaniard powered through to defeat the latter in straight sets to move into the final. Coming into the Indian Wells final, Alcaraz is favored over Medvedev despite the fact that Medvedev hasn't lost since the Australian Open, and again has won 3 straight titles coming into Indian Wells. However, it is hard not to give Carlos the edge, given how incredible he has played in the tournament so far, as well as the fact that the Spaniard will be playing with extra incentive, as if he wins the match, he will retake the world number 1 spot in the rankings. It'll be interesting to see how the unrelenting attack of Alcaraz will do against the impenetrable defense of Medvedev, as this is only the pair's 2nd meeting ever, the first coming before either one had won a Grand Slam or been ranked number 1. Okay, forget everything I just said about Medvedev having a chance against Alcaraz. The Russian got absolutely destroyed in the final 6-3, 6-2, and looked completely helpless throughout the entire match. Alcaraz murdered him on serve, and pretty much won every point on serve by serving wide then hitting a drop shot. The 19-year-old did not drop a set across the entire tournament, and became the youngest player ever to win both legs of the Sunshine Double, as well as the 2nd teenager ever to win 3 Masters events. Although Alcaraz's year-end number 1 ranking will always have a massive asterisk in my book, no one can deny he is an unbelievable talent who has achieved more than most players ever have or will. And he isn't even 20 yet. I've already mentioned it multiple times before, but it is going to be fun as hell watching him dominate the tour for the next 15 years. And, who knows, perhaps one day Alcaraz will be able to make a case for himself as the GOAT of tennis. Thank you guys for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.